6 minutes after 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. And our next guest has something in common with us, Robin. She has written for young readers. We've had young listeners in our other lives as Robin and the Giant, right? Mm-hmm. And and I was just telling her off the air that we revived our radio shows. How many years ago did we decide? 93 is what?
93.
23 years ago?
Right.
Holy mackerel.
I know.
It's getting old.
It's amazing that the 90s can seem so long ago.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Just like, how can that be? I don't know if y'all know John Sheska, who wrote The Stinky Cheese Man. And
okay.
Very funny guy. And he was doing a presentation talking about how such and such book came out, not that long ago in the 90s, and a kid raised his hand and said, "Are you talking like it was the last century?" And it's just like, well, God, it kind of seems like that, right?
Well, it was the last century. It just wasn't.
Right.
It wasn't 100 years ago. Let me introduce you properly, and then that way we can use this on the podcast as well. So I want to make sure we got that. Kate DiCamillo is on the phone. Kate, am I saying your last name right? Let me do it again.
Say it mellow, DiCamillo.
DiCamillo. Okay. DiCamillo.
Yeah, even though I'm not mellow.
All right. Kate DiCamillo is on the phone. She's an award-winning New York Times best-selling author. Some of her books have been made into films. That's pretty exciting, right?
Very exciting.
And she's got a book she wants to talk to us about called Raimi Nightingale. It's a novel for young readers, and this is perfect for us. Good morning, Kate. How are you?
I'm in a pretty good mood. Yeah. How are y'all doing?
Are you a reader because of children's books? Like, did you start out loving books when you were a very little girl?
Oh, I was one of those kids who read. I always say I read without discretion. If it was a book, I loved it. And as an adult, I have a little bit more discretion, but I still can't. I get panicky if I am without a book. I've always been a reader for as long as I can remember, and I was one of those kids who wanted to read so desperately, and it took, I didn't learn spontaneously, and it always bothered me. I didn't learn until first grade.
Oh, really? Oh, only until first grade. Do you know? Do you know what I remember? I remember the book clubs that used to come to the school. You'd get these little, like a two-fold paper thing, and you could pick a book out, or 2 books, or 20 books if you had enough money. And then a week or two later, the mail would come, and every kid in the class had a pile of books on his or her desk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, isn't that the best?
That was great, yeah. And so,
I wish somebody would send me something like that as an adult,
Yeah. Dude, I wonder if that club still exists, and if so.
Yes, Scholastic Book Club still does that.
Okay.
And that was, there were a couple that were operating when, I was going to say we were kids. I don't know how old you are.
Me, I'm 61. 61.
Yeah, so you're in my generation. I was listening to a friend talking about how, so-and-so is like 52 years old. And I'm like, wow, that's really old. And then wait a minute, I'm 52. It takes a while to get your head around it.
Yeah, it does.
I like the fact that you give us an insight into you through your character, Raimi, in your book, because you had the journey of moving around, and you grew up in Central Florida and had to move away too. And she really reflects what you were going through a few times.
Yeah, this is very much a book about growing up in Florida in the mid-'70s. And it's also about Raimi's father has left. And that's something that, I went through. And something that, Raimi comes up with a plan to bring her father back.
Oh, no. And did you come up with a plan like that?
I couldn't. I felt like I should fix it, and I could not conceive of a plan that would work.
Oh, wow, wow. Yeah, that's a hard call for a child. I mean, you think there's something you can do.
Right, and what Raimi thinks that she can do is enter the Little Miss Central Florida Tire Contest. And when she wins, she figures she'll get her picture in the paper, and then her father will see that and come home. So, and that's the way I remember thinking as a kid.
Did you do that? I mean, did you win the competition?
I have one memory of being in the Little Miss Orange Blossom Contest, and that memory was standing on the stage and thinking, I should not be here. And
Oh no!
I was right. I shouldn't have been. Yeah.
I like the fact too that you have that you have an application about what the contestants should write down with their history and everything, and it says the talents you may have, lockpicking. That's pretty funny.
That's Beverly Topinski. Her father's a cop, and she's reading a book on lockpicking and safecracking. So, yeah, it's a varied cast of characters. So in addition to Raimi, there's also Beverly Topinski, who's kind of like a tough nut, and then Louisiana Elefante, who is a little wisp of a thing, who's operates primarily on hope.
And you also deal with the emotions of loneliness.
Yes, and which I think is something that I was doing a signing over the weekend, and a kid raised her hand and said, I've noticed that all of your books deal with loss. And I said, I know, it makes me seem like a barrel of monkeys, doesn't it? But I would just like to say that if you're here and you're a human being, it's part of being here. And loneliness is part of being here too. It's something that we all struggle with.
That's really true. You know what I like about what you're saying, and it sounds like this is probably another thing that agrees with what Robin and I have been doing, is a lot of times when we do songs or stories for children and we get rejected by publishers, which is all the time.
Right. That's what it is rejection, right?
It is, but I often think the rejection is, I don't know if I'm the foolish one or if they're the foolish ones, because they always say, oh, it's too sophisticated for children. And yet we test market our stuff on children. And the children always seem to love the stories. They always seem to love the songs. They say you can't have a song in a minor key.
Yeah.
We have a song called Seven Puppies. Children love it. It happens to be in a minor key. So it sounds like you do the same thing.
I think it's this thing where it's such an intense experience to be a kid, and you are aware of things that adults don't think that you're aware of, and you're vitally alive. And then you grow up, you muffle all of that, and you have kids, and you think, oh boy, I'm gonna protect them, and they're gonna have a sunshiny, rosy existence, and you're gonna forget everything that you knew when you were a kid, which is how alive you are, how aware you are of everything that's going on around you.
Wow.
And so I think people think that kids aren't sophisticated and can't deal with darkness, and they are sophisticated and they can.
Where are you calling? I have three things to tell you, but first thing, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Okay, here are the three things. I'm looking at your picture on your website, KateDiCamillo.com. Am I saying it right? Kate DiCamillo. First thing is, there's no way you're our age. There's no way. All right.
I'm 52.
Oh my gosh. Okay, you don't look at all. Okay.
Well, you know how to say nice things. That's point number one for me. Okay,
what was
that?
What was your first point? What was it?
I said, you know how to say nice things. That's my point to you.
Robin, okay, Robin, would you help me out here?
Oh, I know.
Have you seen the picture?
Yes. Yeah, she's marvelous.
You look wonderful. Okay, so second thing is, there's no way you should have lost a beauty contest.
Well, you had to do things in that contest. And this is also part of, the plot in Raimi Nightingale. She's learning how to twirl a baton, which was, I took baton twirling lessons, and I still don't know how to twirl a baton. And so I had no talent for that contest,
Well, you still should have won. But number three is the most important thing.
All right.
I already love you. And I've already, wait a minute. And Robin already loves you. It's not a male-female thing. It's not a male. Did you know she wrote Because of Winn-Dixie?
I found that out. I thought that was fabulous. I loved the book and the movie.
Oh, y'all know that book. Y'all know that book. That's so good. Yes. That makes me happy.
Yeah.
Are you kidding? Yeah. That is an awesome book.
It is one of our most favorites.
I have been a lucky girl.
I picked up a copy of that book in Publix. I thought, isn't this weird? Publix has a book called Because of Winn-Dixie. I had no idea what it was about.
Well, it's so funny because before the book was published, and I would say the title here, where I am, Minneapolis, and you would just see like people's eyes kind of glaze over because Winn-Dixie is a Southern thing. People don't know what Winn-Dixie is.
Right.
And a lot of times now, still, I will have people who come to signings who will bring a picture of them standing in front of a Winn-Dixie.
Just because of the book.
And we're like, look, we found a Winn-Dixie, and it's like, yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, that's like Piggly Wiggly, right? Piggly Wiggly.
Yeah. Oh, Piggly Wiggly. Yeah. Oh, Piggly Wiggly. I love to say Piggly Wiggly. It cheers me up every time I say it.
Well, every time I go back to New York, I look for a store that says Win Yankee, but there isn't Win.
Well, you were also named the National Ambassador for Young People's Literature, and they couldn't have chosen a better ambassador than you for that.
Oh, well, I tried, I was very intimidated to take that role. It sounded so official, and I had to put on a dress and go to the Library of Congress for a ceremony, and I spend most of my life in jeans, so that was intimidating. But it was a wonderful, wonderful experience doing it because I got to go all over the country and talk about something that I'm genuinely passionate about, which is reading and reading together, which matters so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. Kate, thank you so much for being on the show with us today. We've really enjoyed it. And as I mentioned earlier, you'll be on our little podcast that we're doing. We just restarted something that was 23 years ago or something like that. So you'll be on you're our first guest. You're our first guest.
I was going to say, am I the inaugural guest?
Yes, on that one. Not on this one. On this one.
Yeah, right. No, I got that.
Yeah.
It's been an absolute delight talking with y'all.
And let's give out the information so people can go to your website and get the book. The book, again, is called Raymie Nightingale. If you're familiar with any of the books, let's see, Bink and Golly, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The Tale of, how do you say, well, I can't read it. It's too small. Despereaux.
Which is made into a film.
Mercy Watson, is that the other one?
Yeah, the pig who never learns a lesson. Yeah.
And because of Winn-Dixie, and now the new one, Raymie Nightingale. The website I went to is Kate's name, KateDiCamillo.com, KateDiCamillo.com. We'll put that on the website as well in writing form. And is the book on Amazon and all the other places?
Yeah, and at your library, everywhere you go.
It's your library, that's right.
Yeah.
Can I find it in Publix? That's the question.
It might not be in public.
Kate, thank you so much. That was fun.
Yeah, thank you. Y'all take care.
All right. We'll take a little break, and we will be right back.
The very best in quality is Captain T's upholstery.
Hey,